Hi crafting friends, and welcome to this 20th entry of the Thoughtful Knitter video journal. My name's Ailey and I'm coming to you from my home in the far north of the Scottish mainland. I'm really happy to be with you again. It's been longer than I planned as usual, but I hope you've been well and I'm excited to share the highlights of what I've been up to in my crafting life over the last few months. I have decided, because there's far too much to share, that I'm going to focus on items that would qualify for the Caledonia Cal. So if you've not been here before, it's a perpetual make-along that I'm hosting on Instagram and on Ravelry. I won't go into all the details of the make-along here because I spoke about it at length in my last episodes, but just a very brief summary is that it's concentrating on projects that you can make that have been designed by somebody who calls Scotland home, or is made out of materials that have originated in Scotland. So yeah, if you're interested, pop back to the last episode to hear more about that. Before we get into everything, all the chat proper, the things I need to tell you up front are where you can find me. So I will put those links up here, anywhere on the internet. I am not particularly active. I seem to have ghosted Instagram for the last few months accidentally. These things happen. And what else? Oh, anything I speak about will be in the description box, which you'll find down here. You just have to click the bit that says more and it'll bring you up all the information that I talk about in this episode and any links to anything that I do talk about. So yeah, I think is that all the kind of admin, boring stuff? I hope so. If there's not, I'll remember as we go along and pop it in. Yeah, so let's dive in. Let's start off with what I'm wearing. If you were here for the last episode, then you'll have seen this like this far away from completion. So yeah, I finished it like immediately after the last episode. This is the Moon Crush Pullover by Jacqueline Cieslak, and it is an Intarsia project. It is knitted from the bottom up. The back and the front are knitted separately. You join them together and then you pick up your sleeves and work down. I'll just do my usual contortions, trying to get up on this seat to show you the finished object. I will preface that by pointing out that this is in desperate need of a wash and a reblock because it has stretched out a lot widthwise, which I'm quite surprised by. I kind of thought, given what I made it out of, which I'll come on to tell you, that it would stretch lengthwise, but it hasn't really. It's more width. But yeah, here's a quick look at the finished article. Don't know if you can see the back there, but you might have noticed that the colours are placed differently on the back. So it's quite an interesting knit, although you have to knit separately the front and back, just because it's easier to work Intarsia flat. They're not identical, so it makes it a little bit more interesting. So like I said, this came out, I think it's pretty much to the measurements. It was going to be oversized anyway. I had knit the third size, which is a 44-inch bust, which would have given me like 4 to 5 inches of positive ease. But it's now closer to about 46-47 inches. So there's a lot of room in there. I love this jumper. I have worn it so much this summer. I feel really retro and cool, and it's been really useful in terms of not just the fit, because it's really comfortable, but also the makeup of the fabric. So I knitted this in Drops Belle, which is, now I didn't look this up and I can't remember, it's mostly cotton, I think. So it's cotton, linen and viscose blend. I mean, it was really cheap, really affordable. I can't remember how much this cost in total, but I probably think around £20. I'll put it on the screen when I work it out. So the yarn was great to work with. I would say that if you're not into plant yarns, it's maybe not for you. It's definitely quite ropey. It's very loosely plied, so you have to kind of be quite careful when you're knitting that you're getting all the plies on the needle. But yeah, it's been fantastic. It's got an amazing drape on it. It's been ideal for the summer we never had. Up here we had some nice weather back in May and it seems to have mostly disappeared since then. We've had the odd nice day, but it's been a really chilly summer. I'm sure you've heard many other Brits complaining about it, so I won't add to that list. But this one's been good because the pattern calls for 4-ply or fingering weight yarn, but I decided, given the gauge, that I would prefer to knit in double knits because I think it's 22 stitches to 10 inches. So I've knitted this in double knit. It is plant-based fibres, so it's quite cool, but because it's double knit, it does have a bit more warmth to it, and it obviously has long sleeves as well. So it's been ideal for the summer that never happened. Like I said, there have been occasions where I have been too cold to wear this. So, but yeah, I'm very happy with it. In terms of the pattern and the construction, I would say I enjoyed the intarsia. I really like the design and the look of the garment. There were a couple of problems that I've spoken about in my last episode where the directions for the crew neck are just very problematic. They pretty much would give you a slash neck and you'd be choked the whole time. So I think what I did is I worked very similar to the scoop neck instructions, but just shortened the space here so that it was further up. It's also written by rows rather than measurements, so that's a problem if you have not got row gauge and you have to do a little bit of finagling to work out exactly where these charts are going to end and things. Yeah, apart from those tiny things, I would say that looking back, if I had thought about it, I would have knitted the size smaller, or maybe even 2 sizes smaller, across the shoulders, because it is a fitted shoulder, but it's coming up more like a drop shoulder. I should really be about there, and it's coming right down there. There's some, I don't know if you can see it on here, but there's a really nice detail when you pick up and work your short rows here, and you leave your wrap and turn visible to get this lovely effect. I mean, it's all stretched out at the moment, so it's maybe not the easiest to see. Probably after blogging it would look a lot better. Yeah, I kind of think I might knit another one, but in wool at some point. I do enjoy it, and I would quite like to have one that I can wear in the winter, but part of me thinks, how many statement intarsia garments can you get away with in your wardrobe? Although the other part of me thinks, well, this is my summer one, I could have a winter one. So that might happen at some point. So yeah, I have mostly good things to say about this. If you are not opposed to working flat, and if you're not opposed to a tiny bit of seaming, oh no, there's seaming here and at the sides, isn't there? Seaming, then go for it. I would recommend it. Okay, so that's one of my finished objects and what I'm wearing. Let's move on to the rest of my finished objects. I say the rest of my finished objects, but there is only one, and it's not completely finished yet. I still have a couple of ends to weave in, and I still need to blog it. But I did do that on purpose because I wanted to show you what it looks like before I blog it. So this is called Taradale. Let's see if there we go. And this is a design by Emily K. Williams, who lives in Inverness, I think, or very close to Inverness. And this is a design from the Kate Davies book Millerochy Heads, which I bought a lot of years ago and had been meaning to make this for ages, and I eventually just decided to do it. I have far too many hats. I do not need any more hats, but I wanted to knit this one because it is double knitting, and I've never done double knitting before, or not for a whole project anyway. I've maybe done like little bands and things on garments. So yeah, so this is it. It would fit for my Caledonia cal because the designer is based in Scotland. The yarn itself is not. The yarn is from Black Art, and it is I think it's their Pure Jacob 4-ply. I don't know if these colours still exist because I bought it in a D-stash many years ago, but they come from the same colour family. So what happened at the time is you had this kind of pale green, that's it on I think it's called the clay base, which is the whitest base. And then it was dyed on all the different natural colours from the Jacob's fleece, getting darker as you went. So this one was the darkest. It was on I think it's pure, no, let me look and actually get it right. Okay, so this is pale green basalt, and this is pale green clay. Yeah, so I used those, and ideal for colour work, although it's not really colour work. So yeah, it's double knitted, so it is fully reversible. So on the other side it's got the opposite effect. And for double knitting, you're pretty much just doing one by one rib, except you're working on two separate, you've got one needle but you have two separate layers. So you'll not be able to see this, but you can pull the bits apart, the inner and outer layers. Now the reason I left this unblocked is because I wanted you to see my wibbly wobbly purl. So this was the right side, and when I was knitting, this was all knitted, and then the side that I am not describing this properly. This looks knitted on this side, but it was actually worked as purls on the other side, and I was using my left hand continental. So I can do continental knitting, I can't do continental purls, so I absolutely forced myself to do the whole of this project. It did get better, and I think when it blocks it's going to look nicer, but at the moment it is very much wibbly wobbly and the tension is pretty questionable. But it was enjoyable. It went by quite quickly, and now I've got another, I don't know if I've got a string to add to my bow because I wouldn't say it's fantastic yet, but I have tried it and I would definitely try it again. So yeah, an enjoyable knit. It's quite an interesting construction. You do a provisional cast on somewhere. Can't remember where. I think maybe down here somewhere. You work your whole crown. So the crown, I don't know if you can see, like it. You've got your two colours there. You work your crown. I did decrease this by a good few inches, and I kind of wish I'd maybe decreased it by another inch. I also added a little bit of length in here, which I kind of wish I'd added a tiny bit more, and I shortened this because it was going to be really slouchy. As it is still slouchy. I'll pop it on and you can see. See, it's still still very slouchy, but not too bad. Yeah, so you have worked your crown, and then to join them together you I can't really remember what I did because it was quite a while ago, but you definitely at some point Kitchener the two bits together by twisting 180 degrees to get this kind of bit at the top. Then you start your double knitting, and then you do your corrugated rib in a similar manner, and then eventually you bind off everything together. So which would kind of be like a 3 needle bind off because you've got 2 layers. That was a really poor summary of this hat. I've made it sound extremely complicated. It's really not. Everything is in the instructions, and I think it's really fun, and I'm quite keen to get it blocked now and see if this evens up a little bit, because I do like the fact that you can have it as almost like the negative. So yeah, I would recommend this one if you want to have a go at double knitting and you don't want to commit to a massive project. Then a hat is always a good swatch, a useful swatch is what I think. So yeah, that is my only finished object. Everything else are works in progress, so let's go on to those. Before I go any further, I just want to apologise if me playing with my hair is distracting. It is very much needing a cut. I am, I think about a month overdue because I had a hospital appointment that couldn't be changed that coincided with my last hair appointment. Couldn't get fitted in, and now I'm just like this. I feel like Claudia Winkleman. Not that that's a bad thing, but I can't see. So yeah, if it's distracting, I'm sorry. Right, on to knitting and crafting, because that's what you're here for. You don't need to hear about my hair woes. So my most exciting, I would say, project of the last few months has been this one. So this is, I'll show you more in a minute. This is a birthday present for my brother, who had a big birthday this year, and I didn't have the faintest clue what to get him. And I don't think he's very interested in cushions, but I'm making him a Furel cushion. He has a croft, which, if you're not in Scotland, a croft is like a small holding. So he has a job, but he also has a croft, and he works very hard at it at the evenings and weekends. And he has a flock of sheep and some other, he has cattle and things as well. But yeah, I kind of thought, he's got a house over there that he's not living in at the moment, but he might be at some point in the future. And I thought, well, it was actually my sister that put this idea in my head. Why not make him a custom cushion for his house? I've made one. Well, I've not made one. I'm in the process of making one. And I kind of think if he likes it, that's great. I'll make him a second one so he's got matching ones. If he doesn't, that's okay. He can sit on it in his tractor and at least it's useful. This is based on the Rams and Yows blanket pattern by Kate Davies. I'm calling it Toops and Rams because we don't... Toops and Rams. Toops and Yows, because that's what we see here, we don't say Rams. So what I did is I used part of the chart here, and I've added in this detail at the bottom. I've added in these here that's just from a stitch dictionary of fairy motifs, so that's like a period motif, and I can't remember where that came from. It might also be from the stitch dictionary. And I have used all natural colours, so mostly it is Jamieson's of Shetland Spindrift, but I've also used the lightest colour here is a Crew by Jamieson and Smith, and the mid grey here is Black Isle Yarns Auchen Sportweight in the colourway Har, which is the natural undyed. So yeah, this has very much been a case of winging it, sucking it in sea, and just making it up as I go along. So this is one side. The other side has the name of his croft on it, and I probably don't need to be sharing identifiable information on the internet, so please don't be offended if I put like a wee box or something over it so you can't see it. But yeah, it looks like it's backwards anyway. So this is the other side, and this is based on the Islesborough Touré, which is the Shetland Wool Week hat pattern for this year. So this bit, I put some extra space in here, but this bit is all from the design. I've mirrored it here. That's all from the Islesborough Touré. I added this in to kind of tie in with the spit, and added these into, and then this was from another stitch dictionary. I think it was from alternate I think it's called. They had the alphabet, so I just used that to write his croft name. I prefer this side, and if I do a second one, I think I'll do it all with the shape, because as my nephew tells me, his dad has far more yows than toops, so it would make far more sense to have 3 of these and just the one of these. So this should have been done about 6 or 7 weeks ago, so I am very much overdue with this. The knitting has been done since well before the deadline, but I had problems trying to get a hold of a zip. It hadn't arrived in time. Then when it did arrive, I realised I had ordered the wrong kind. I've got an invisible zip. So now I have the right kind of zip, but I have lost all motivation to put it all together because 1, I don't know what I'm doing, and 2, my deadline has gone. So I'm hoping that by sharing this with you here, it might put the rocket up my backside that I need to finish this off and get it to my brother. Here's hoping. Yeah, so let me check my notes here to make sure I have told you everything. I've told you the yarns. Like I said, it's all in natural colours. I'll share it on my project page on Ravelry, what they are. If you can't access Ravelry, just let me know. If you can't access Ravelry but still want to know what the colours are, let me know and I will try to help out. Best way to reach me is probably either by direct message on Instagram or Ravelry, or by email. All the details I think are in the description box. So yeah, I used a 3mm needle to knit this, and I got a gauge of 32 stitches over 4 inches. And it was a lot of knitting. I mean, it's pretty much like a full body of a garment, but very enjoyable. Yeah, so that is my first work in progress. Wish me luck that I get it finished and figure out a way to insert this zip, because I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just, like the rest of it, making it up as I go along. So yeah, that is work in progress number 1. Hopefully soon to be finished object. Work in progress number 2 I am debating whether it's going to continue to be a work in progress or to be pulled out. Maybe you can help me to decide. This is a hat, another hat that I don't need. And it is called Soft Hearted by Maddie Harvey. Apologise for the light that keeps changing here, where it's kind of changing between sun and overcast, and it's late afternoon, so it's starting to come into this corner of the room. This is a mosaic stitch pattern done in garter stitch. I think hopefully you could see that quite well. I am knitting this in John Arbin Yarnadelic Sport. I basically bought these because I am always on the lookout for sport weight yarn, because I am such a tight knitter that to get gauge on 4-ply is difficult for me without ending up with really gappy final fabric. So sport weight is a good option for me to get gauge a bit more easily. So I had spotted these on, they were specials on the John Arbin Textiles open weekend, and they had a digital version of the open weekend, and I'm afraid I got sucked in and bought yarn that I shouldn't have been buying. But it was for a kit for mittens, and I thought, well, I'm going to have way more than I need for the mittens, so maybe I'll make a matching hat. That's better, you can maybe see it a bit better there. I would say this is greener than it's showing up on screen. But anyway, just focus, Ailey. What is the content of this yarn? I think it's Corriedale. Let me double check. Yeah, it's 100% Falklands Corriedale, and like I said, it is a sport weight yarn. These were blends that were specially made or specially designed by different people for John Arbin. So this one was designed by Emily of Tin Can Knits. I don't know if you can really see that properly. Yeah, it's definitely coming up bluer on this screen. And then this one was by Zolda Teague, and it's more of a kind of, comes up as a kind of almost greyish neutral kind of colour, but it's got lots of different colours within it. Yeah, so that is knitting up really beautifully, and it's really enjoyable. Really straightforward pattern, very well written. What's the word? Engaging. But it's coming up very small, so I can't decide whether, you know, to block the, maybe it's no. Should I try it on? Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's maybe okay. What do you think? Do I need to pull this back into a bigger size? This is meant to fit, is it 21? Yeah, 21 to 23 inch head. I've got a 22 inch head. And I am using a thicker yarn, so it's originally calls for, I think it is Shetland, so it's like Jamieson and Smith or Jamieson's or Shetland yarn, which is a 4-ply. And I also went up a needle size, so I thought that would counteract the gauge issues. So yeah, let me know what you think. Should I frog this and start again, or do you think it's worth carrying on and blogging? I am just about at the crown decreases, so it might be about the right length. I normally like my hats to go over my ears, because I get really sore ears in the wind. So yeah, I'm impressed with this yarn. It is extremely soft. very, very soft. So yeah, I had, like I said, I'd wanted to try it to see if it might do for a garment at some point, and yeah, I'd also like to see how it wears, if it's going to pill or not, because I'm not the biggest fan of merino for that reason, and I do, well, anything that is soft enough is going to have a shorter staple length and is going to pill more. So yeah, we'll see how this wears. And yeah, that is work in progress number 2. The final thing I wanted to share with you in my works in progress is this embroidery kit that I've been working on. What does the average knitter pick up when she wants to do a bit of embroidery? Something that looks like a knitting pattern. So I found this on Etsy. Oh, and this is the Nordic Selby star pattern by Midge Porter Design. It is exquisite, and as you can see, it is a blackwork embroidery pattern. I've never worked that before. It's apparently from Elizabethan times, and the kind of stitch that you use is called a holbein stitch or a double run-in stitch. So this is where I have gotten to. I have done quite a lot actually. Oh, that looks good. Looks brilliant on the camera at a distance where you can't see the mistakes. So there you go. I'll just put it right close so you can see it well. Don't know, did you see that? Yeah, I'm chuffed with this. I only have, as you can see, I've just got this one to do, and I think, no, that's the way it's meant to be. Yeah, I've got this one to do, and this one still needs some tiny little stitches in these open bits here. I've not figured out how to do that without having a running stitch at the back, which I don't want. So it might just be a case of working a stitch and knotting off every one. If you are an embroiderer and know how to do a single stitch in the middle of something without a running stitch at the back, let me know. Also let me know if I'm being too fussy and it's not going to show up anyway. And yeah, I've not got too much to say about this because I don't really know anything about embroidery other than I have really, really enjoyed this. I just wanted something that involved no thought whatsoever. I always find with knitting, especially garments or anything that needs to fit you, there's a lot of adjustments and finding the right gauge and making changes, modifying patterns so that they fit. Whereas this is, do your instructions and you will get the right thing. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this, and I'm gonna frame it and put it on my bedroom wall is my plan. Yeah, not too much more to say about that other than I will link her shop down below. She has some really lovely designs. I bought the kit for this, but she also sells PDF patterns if you've got all your supplies already. And I have this really cute little needle minder that I found on Etsy. I can't remember who it's by. One question though, for anyone who uses them, I find that it sticks better to that side than it does to this side. Is that normal? Is it just because of the enamel on there? Or, I mean, it still stays, just you see it's moving, it's not quite as... So I've been a bit scared and have put it on the back when I'm putting it away. But oh, yeah, look, see, my back's not too terrible either. This bit in the middle is because that's where I started. But yeah. So yeah, those are all the things I've been working on. I've been really enjoying trying to find, what's the word? I've been really enjoying being a bit more intentional about finding Scottish designers and materials. So yeah, I will continue to do that. There'll probably future episodes might not be so heavily that way, but because it's been 3 months since my last one and there was just far too much to share, I thought the best way to decide what to share was just to have a theme, and I thought that theme can be the Caledonia Cal, and hopefully it'll give you a bit of inspiration as well. I'd love it if you would take part and join in with me, and yeah, that is all of my works in progress. Let's just have a very quick blather at the end. I don't really have a lot to share with you, but I have been working on something over the summer that I wanted to tell you about because I found it really useful. And that is an audio course that has been put together by a couple of clinical psychologists. Some of you may be aware of Mia Hobbs, Dr. Mia Hobbs, who has the Why I Knit podcast, an audio podcast, where she interviews different knitters and sometimes other crafters about what it is about their making that they find helpful for their general well-being and mental health. So she and Dr. Paula Redmond, who is also a clinical psychologist and a knitter, have put together an audio course that I suppose is almost like going on one of their retreats that they offered a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago. And it's looking at using your crafting for self-care. And I think it's about £50. It's already available, so I'll put all the links down below. And it's going to be more widely publicised in September because I think Mia has a new series coming out, being launched then. So I think there's going to be more of a push on it then. But I found it incredibly useful. Is there about 11 episodes or more, and then there's also specific episodes for new knitters and for health professionals and for people who want to set up groups to help others with promoting knitting for self-care. It's a private audio podcast feed. You have access to the episodes indefinitely, and it also comes with a workbook that you have access to indefinitely as well. It's sent to you. And yeah, I find it, I've listened through once, and I absolutely think I'm going to dip in and out routinely throughout the coming years probably. It kind of gives you a framework of how to use your knitting more, thoughtfully, more purposefully, to enhance your well-being and not to stress you out or anything like that. Yeah, and like I said, it kind of feels like it feels like you've been on a retreat. The way it's spaced out is that you listen to an episode every couple of days, but what you could do is maybe listen to quite a few of them over 2 days and then have like just a chunk of time to think about how you approach your crafting. And once you've listened through once, I think it would probably be quite helpful to go back to specific bits when you need it. So yeah, I find it really useful, so I just thought I would share it with you guys in case any of you are interested in that sort of thing. I do think it is a worthwhile investment. It's only £50 and you have access to it forevermore. So sorry, I'm getting distracted by a group of bairns outside my window. Anyway, yeah, I think it is a good investment and I just wanted to share that with you. So I think I'm going to leave it there. The light is going even crazier. It's getting quite busy outside my house with children, and they're seeing me looking at them. Don't know what they're doing. Yeah, right now I'm distracted, so I am going to head off. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I really hope that you've been keeping well and that you've had a good summer or winter, wherever you may be. And I hope to be with you back again on your screens very soon. In the meantime, please take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Bye bye.